The trigger trembled, but the shot hadn't come. In a mud-brick schoolhouse high in Bolivia, a gaunt prisoner lifted his chin. How did a wheezing Argentine medic become the most hunted rebel on Earth? And why would his face, minutes later, circle the globe? He began far from these heights. Rosario, 1928. A baby who gasped for air would grow into a man who chased storms. Asthma drove his family to drier hills, where boyhood chess matches and medical texts fenced with moonlit coughing fits. On a sputtering motorcycle named La Poderosa, he and Alberto Granado chased the spine of the Andes. They met miners coughing black dust, lepers marooned by a river, nuns counting dwindling coins. Each border drew a wider map on his conscience. In Guatemala City, 1954, he tasted the metal of empire. A reformist government reeled as planes droned overhead, and a CIA plot toppled Jacobo Arbenz. In the alleys, he learned how fragile hope could be, how softly a dream can be strangled. Exile pushed him to Mexico City, and to Hilda Gadea, whose economics sharpened his politics. Then lightning struck. Fidel and Raul Castro, planning a desperate crossing. Over coffee and maps, the asthmatic doctor pledged himself to a far riskier cure. The Granma creaked from Veracruz with more hope than fuel. In Cuban shallows, bullets found them. A ragged remnant crawled into the Sierra Maestra, sore, hungry, and hunted. The doctor's satchel became a bandolier, the wheeze a drumbeat upward.
Up there, the medic stitched wounds and strategy. He taught letters between ambushes, punished theft, and wrote ruthless notes about desertion. Compassion sat beside severity, like a scalpel gleaming next to a revolver on a wet canvas tarp. Santa Clara, 1958, a train armored like a coffin. He pried up rails, derailed the steel beast, and split Batista's spine. The city fell not with a shout, but a sigh of inevitability, as soldiers shed uniforms and civilians shoved open the gates. New Year's Day, 1959. Havana woke to the footfall of a revolution. Batista fled. The bearded column rolled in, smelling of leaf mold and sweat. The doctor commander entered the capital, greeted by thunderous relief and whispered fears of what came next. Victory's dawn was gray. At La Cabana, tribunals judged torturers and informants. Firing squads cracked the harbor air. Admirers called it justice, opponents vengeance. In that cold calculus, the physician's hand did not tremble. He swapped jungle boots for a ministry desk, then tried to abolish the desk. Steel mills, sugar quotas, volunteer shifts. He argued that a new society needed a new soul, work for dignity, not dollars. Numbers stuttered. Zeal tried to outrun arithmetic. Moscow, Beijing, Algiers. He sparred with allies as much as foes. Credits and sugar for oil felt like shackles. He scolded the socialist camp for comfort, urging risk over routine. Every speech tightened a spring coiled inside his chest. New York, 1964. At the UN, he accused colonialism with an unblinking stare. In Harlem, he met Malcolm X, two storms crossing in a brief handshake. Cameras flashed. Outside, sirens braided through winter air like cold iron wire. Then, absence. A farewell letter left with Fidel like a sealed grenade. He vanished from cameras, renouncing titles. He wanted the furnace again, not the throne. The map on his wall shifted to a hurtled continent, stitched by rivers and war. Congo, 1965. Malaria-thick air. Alliances thin as paper. He met Laurent Desire Kabila in the bush. Discipline wavered, supplies vanished, spirits sagged. A doctor who could fight discovered a war that would not learn. He left with lungs and heart heavier. Back in Cuba's shadows, he lifted a different map. Bolivia, landlocked, mountainous, and fractious. He gathered a small column. Cubans, Bolivians, a German Argentine known as Tanya. Even before dawn, politics split the camp from potential allies. Yankawazu, 1966, a secret camp cut into thorn and rock. The diary began again. Fevers, missed rendezvous, thin beans, thicker doubts. The hills listened. Few peasants joined. The party chief balked. The vanguard felt like a whisper against stone. Far away, Green Berets trained Bolivian rangers, while the CIA tightened its net. Radios crackled with code names. Maps bloomed with pins. A veteran of 100 operations traced a finger to a narrow creek and smiled without warmth.
Ambushes bit both ways, but hunger bit hardest. Regis Debray was seized. Couriers disappeared. The column shrank. Each valley promised relief and delivered another bear pot. The jungle thrummed with insects, and somewhere, patient boots. October 8th, 1967. At Quebrada del Euro, rifles stitched the brush. He was hit, his gun jammed, his breath a rasp from a lifetime. Captured, he refused to plead. The column scattered into green silence as boots closed around a single man. La Higuera again. In the schoolhouse, he spoke little, asked for tobacco, and studied his captors as if taking pulses. Orders ricocheted by radio. When they came, they were brief enough to fit in a breath. He straightened, as if for a photograph. After the shots, the ritual. Hands severed to prove identity. A washhouse table became a morgue. Villagers filed past the waxen face. He was buried in secrecy near an airstrip, as if the earth itself were being told to keep quiet. For now. Yet death loosened, not sealed, his image. Alberto Corda's 1960 photograph, eyes stormlit beneath a black beret, burst from Havana onto dorm walls, barricades, boutiques. A gaze designed for pamphlets now haunted billboards and lamplit bedrooms. Across the hemisphere, militants took notes. Sandinistas, Montoneros, Tupamaros. Some toppled dictators. Many met prisons, graves, or exile. His example was a mirror, showing courage to some, catastrophe to others. And none could look away for long. Critics point to tribunals, to camps, to economic plans that curdled into shortages. Exiles remember midnight knocks and a homeland sliding past a porthole window. Between aura and archive, a thorny ledger stays open on the table. His diaries speak in sand-gridded sentences. Hunger, arguments, resolve nudged by doubt. The man inside the myth was stubborn, idealistic, sometimes merciless, sometimes tender. A tangle of edges that cut both comrade and self. In Santa Clara, a mausoleum grips his bones, and an eternal flame licks the dark. Children march in red kerchiefs and pledge to be like him. In plazas and kitchens, elders argue in low voices about what that sentence means and what it cost. Return to La Higuera's classroom. The bullet is long gone. The question remains. What is a just world worth, and what do we pay to build it? Between the cough of a child in Rosario and the echo in this room, an era learned its own breath.